Matter of fact, the answer is the same when you hit 60. I'm 58, all right? The answer is still the same when you're 70. So, all right, Mark McKilley with Live Anabolic, and I got a question for you. Should men over 50 be lifting weights? You don't have to stick around to the end of my video like I make you most of the time. Just stick around to the end of this intro and you're gonna have your answer. Just like I promised, telling you right now, the answer is yes. Absolutely, without a doubt, of course. You bet you're damn right and emphatically yes. All right, did I get my point across? All right, so guys, we're going to talk about several different reasons why we need to be lifting weights as we get older, and then I'm going to tell you some of the benefits also. So a lot of you guys have the wrong impression that you can hurt yourself lifting. All right, yes, it occurs rarely. All right, but it's only when guys are doing really stupid stuff, and I promise you, most of the guys that are getting hurt lifting weights are younger guys. It's not us older guys, because we've gotten a lot smarter. We're not trying to impress people. Which means we're not lifting extremely heavy weights. We're not doing Olympic style, rapid movements where we're jerking the weight around. All right, we're not doing explosive movements. All right, that doesn't really help build muscle. Okay, so as far as getting hurt versus lifting weights, it's almost never going to happen, especially if you listen to me and Gary and follow our programs. That's just not going to be an issue. But what lifting weights does do is actually prevent injury. So as we get older, all right, if we're not lifting weights, then what happens is your body naturally just gets stiff and tight and inflexible. All right, so how do we get hurt as we get older if we're not active, if we're not lifting weights? And I'm not talking about just going out and jogging, a couple of miles 2 or 3 times a week, because that's not building muscle. All right, yeah, that's great for your heart, all right, but it's not really doing much for your muscles, even your joints. All right, so lifting weights makes your joints stronger and more flexible. So there's an old wives' tale where you see these huge, giant, remember those pro bodybuilders, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, the guys that are even bigger now, all right? And you're like, dude, that guy is so big and inflexible. I don't want to be like that. Those big, burly bodybuilders are actually more flexible than you and I are, okay? I've seen guys that are just humongous do splits on stage as part of their posing routine. There's no way I could do that, okay? So lifting weights, when we do them correctly, we're moving the weight through a wide range of motion, okay? So it can be shoulder presses, bench presses, squats, all kinds of different exercises, back exercises. So as you're doing that, you're working not just the muscles, but you're working your tendons, your ligaments, and the joints themselves, all right? So all that does is not only strengthen, but it also improves your flexibility. And guys, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be 80 years old and fall over a 1/4 inch crack that tall and break my hip. That always blows me away. I know my mom's 84, and so we got to worry about that, but she didn't exercise. She never lifted weights or did anything when she was younger. And so now her bones are so weak that just the slightest trip can actually do some serious long-term damage. So, Mark, why does lifting weights help with our bones, make us stronger? Well, guys, there is a direct correlation between putting stress on your muscles, and that puts stress on your bones. And of course, your body responds by making those bones denser, they're stronger. Literally, you are far less likely to break a muscle if you are routinely doing resistance training, all right? There's all kinds of studies out there about that, and it's just a fact of life. So it's great as we're getting older that we have to worry about that, because guys, remember, when you're 20 years old, it's not nearly as important to be lifting weights, all right? I know that sounds kind of goofy. When you're 20, you want to lift weights because you get your shirt off more often, you're by the pool, you're at the lake. That doesn't happen so much anymore when you're my age, all right? But when you're 20, just going out and playing soccer twice a week with the guys is all you need to do. You still look good, all right? That doesn't hack it. So people that are my age, I'm all for soccer, all right? But you can go out and play soccer 2, 3, 4 times a week, and if that's all you do, no strength training, you're probably not going to look very good. Now, your heart may be great, you may have good cardio, but I promise those guys are going to have a nice little pudge. You know, they're not going to have any muscle definition, and they're not going to be as flexible, okay? Because yeah, running's good, but they're not getting the resistance, they're not getting the stretch in their shoulders and their elbows and their back, okay, that you do when you're lifting weights. Running around playing soccer is great, but it's not going to give you that full, deep stretch range of motion that happens when you're doing, you know, deep lunges, deep squats, you know, full range of motions when you're doing bands, all right? Lat pull downs, tricep extensions. It's just a whole different ball game, guys. Okay, so hopefully I got across my point that not only, yes, you need to lift weights as you get older, but it's actually more important for us older guys to be pumping iron than it was when you were a young whippersnapper. Now, let's just briefly touch on some of the benefits. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys kind of know, you know, if in the back of your head, but you know, you don't necessarily think about each benefit concretely, you know, and discreetly on a daily basis. So I'm just going to kind of bring these to the forefront real quickly so you can go, all right, there we go. I'm going to check all these off so that when it's time to go to the gym, or if you're just thinking about starting a workout routine, maybe you're not doing weight training, all right? I want you to write these things down, guys, because it will probably help motivate you to just change your lifestyle and then incorporate this into your daily life. So guys, remember there's exercise and there's resistance training. So I'm talking about resistance training, weightlifting, and that doesn't have to be just with dumbbells or bars. It can be with resistance bands, right? It could actually be with your own body weight. I mean, doing a push-up or a squat is also resistance training, all right? So I'm not talking about running on a treadmill or an elliptical or a stationary bike or even out there playing soccer or tennis with the guys. Those are all great for you, but those accomplish different things than the weight training. And I know you don't have to pick between the two, but if you had to, I would say the weightlifting is way better for you, way more important to do as you get older than the cardio itself. Because when you're doing weight training, if you do it right, you can actually get a really good cardio workout, okay, from lifting weights, all right, or doing bands, doesn't matter. So here's some of the discrete, concrete benefits from lifting weights. Now, first of all, you've probably heard me talk about this a lot if you've seen some of the other videos, and that's testosterone. So guys, you don't realize if you don't weight train. Now, for you guys out there that have been pushing the weights around for years and years, you get it, all right? You know what I'm talking about. But if you're just starting and you've laid off for 20 or 30 years, you're gonna love the benefits that come with increased levels of testosterone. And so, before I get into all the little benefits of testosterone, the main thing is I want you to realize is that lifting weights, the strain that you're putting on your body sends signals to your brain, to your pituitary glands, and to other organs in your body, and it tells your body to ramp up its natural production of testosterone, okay? So that is a huge benefit, all right? So you don't have to do any kind of artificial steroids or anything else like that. Just pushing yourself hard helps your body produce more testosterone. And the harder you push yourself, the more you tear down those muscle fibers, the more lactic acid that you build up when you're doing your workouts, the more your body's going to increase production of testosterone. And guess what else? Muscle looks great, right? Not only does it look great, but you know it looks great on you, right? You know, you can look at another guy and go, wow, damn, that guy is badass. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I looked like that. But you know that on yourself, you see yourself in the mirror. You know if you look good or not, all right? And when you start building muscle, all right, and losing that fat, it will give you a kind of a different level of confidence, all right? So you've heard me talk a ton of times, okay, if you've been following these videos for the last couple of years. And so I'm not some cocky, arrogant guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I know when I walk into a restaurant or a bar or the gym or wherever I'm going, even if it's, at the lake or the pool or something, I know that, I look better, not than the other 50-year-old guys, but I know that I'm in better shape than the 20-year-old guys at the pool, okay? And it's not something I'm patting myself on the back about. That's not why I'm telling you this. It just makes me feel different, and I have more confidence, and not an arrogant, cocky confidence. It's just kind of a matter of fact that I know I can take care of myself if I need to, if something happens. So the confidence thing is great. It looks great. Another thing is, when you build muscle, you're gonna have a lot more energy, all right? It just kind of comes with the territory. And then building muscle is almost always goes hand in hand with losing fat, all right? Those two things really work together well. So when you build muscle and lose fat, you're gonna have more energy. You just feel more alert, more awake, all right? And guess what? You're more productive, all right? So you're not gonna feel nearly as sluggish during the day. After your lunch, you're just not gonna be worn out nearly as much as you were before. So guys, building muscle has tons of benefits, and another one, of course, is sex. All of you guys are in different positions out there, no pun intended. So some of y'all are married, some of you are single or divorced, some of you have girlfriends, some of you guys don't get to have sex on a regular basis. I don't care. I promise your sex drive is going to go up. You're going to have far more libido. And then when you do occasionally get that sex, depending on you married guys, I promise it's going to be a whole lot better. Just a little small side added benefit of lifting weights as we get older. All right, so what is another benefit to lifting weights and building muscle? Well, guess what? It makes your metabolism go up, right? So muscle requires more calories to function and stay alive every day than fat does, all right? So the more muscle you add to your body, the higher your metabolic rate is gonna be. So when I talk about metabolism, a lot of times we kind of lump that into some kind of weird generic term. So there's something called your basal metabolic rate, and that is how many calories your body burns a day if you just sat in a chair all day and did no exercise. So if you have more muscle on your body, just sitting in a chair, just sleeping, just watching TV, you're gonna burn more calories than if you had less muscle, okay? And what does that mean? You're burning more calories. That means you're gonna start losing fat. So adding muscle just automatically causes you to start dropping body fat, all right? So that is a fantastic thing. And of course, it also means that over time, as you have more muscle and drop more fat, you don't have to worry about your diet. You don't have to be so strict, all right? I've put on so much muscle over the years that I can have more cheat days than I used to. When I was trying to lose fat, okay, like for a contest or something like that, I had to watch every single thing I put in my mouth, all right? But now that I've added a lot of muscle and I'm not trying to lose fat anymore, I have way more flexibility. Now, I eat healthy most of the time, but I can still have those cheeseburgers and fries on a regular basis, and it doesn't screw me up. And then another thing is, when you're lifting weights, when you're pushing that stuff around, a lot of times this is free weights. We're not on machines, we're working out at home, right? So you're having to balance those dumbbells. You have to balance those bands when you're doing tricep push downs or lateral raises. There's all these different exercises. And just forcing yourself to go through the resistance, through the movement that causes muscle growth, also requires you to create a mind-muscle connection, and the balance and the coordination are built along with that. And then finally, the last thing is the potential for danger, especially in this day and age. I'm a news junkie. I'm constantly watching on TV, and I'm seeing people just get attacked on the street and just beat up and robbed. I'm not talking about at gunpoint. I'm just talking about just people getting mugged and just beat up just for fun, just because they don't like somebody walking down the street. They don't like the way you look, okay? And I guarantee you pay attention to these, all right? They're videos in restaurants, okay? You know, people throwing stuff at you if they don't like the hat you're wearing. They're kicking you in the face. They're just beating you, hitting you from behind. Every one of the people that get picked on, the victims, they are always smaller, weak, feeble people, all right? So big guys like me are not getting targeted, all right? I promise, just pay attention when you see this kind of stuff happen on the news. So if you're building muscle, if you're losing fat, if you look like you're fit and you can take care of yourself, you're not nearly as likely to be a victim of one of these crimes where they're just out there just picking on people. And of course, if you're married or have a girlfriend, then you're going to be far more likely to be able to defend her. And in reality, nobody's going to attack you and your girlfriend if you look like you're fit and you know what you're doing. So that is another, I know it's a small possibility, but it sure does feel good in the back of my head knowing if I'm walking down the street either by myself or I'm walking into a bar or even a McDonald's. I mean, these fights break out in fast food restaurants, guys, just all of a sudden, all right? So it is kind of nice knowing that people ain't gonna be screwing with me simply because I lift weights and I look strong and I look like ain't nobody gonna mess with me. All right, guys, so I appreciate you sticking around to the end. Hopefully you got a lot of my little ideas about why it's important to build muscle. And of course the answer is yes. A ton of different ways I can say yes. You have to lift weights after you turn 50. Matter of fact, the answer is the same when you hit 60. I'm 58, all right? The answer is still the same when you're 70. So all you guys out there, the older you get, I promise, the more important it becomes to lift weights. Now, you ain't gonna build muscle, all right, overnight. That means you gotta stick with it and never give up on yourself.